specifically through Imam Muhammad Metwali al-Sha'rawi's amazing interpretation of verses 22 to 25 from Surah Ibrahim. It gives this incredible perspective on spiritual responsibility, what temptation really is, God's justice, and importantly, the promise of reward. So get ready for some potential aha moments. We'll be exploring the key differences between our own internal leanings and those external nudges, figuring out what responsibility truly means, and appreciating these powerful parables that guide us.
It really is a journey into self-awareness, and it kicks off with a statement that's, well, pretty stunning.
Okay, let's jump right in then. Picture this. Judgment Day, everything's decided, and Satan steps up. And he says something shocking. He says, "Indeed, Allah promised you a promise of truth, and I promised you, but I betrayed you." And then, crucially, "And I had no authority over you except that I invited you, and you responded to me. So do not blame me, but blame yourselves." Wow. Okay, so this authority or sultan that Satan says he didn't have, what's the Imam telling us about that word?
It's fascinating, yeah. The Imam really breaks down sultan. He says there are basically two kinds of authority. First, there's overt power, like physically forcing you to do something you absolutely hate against your will. The second type is persuasive argument, convincing you so deeply that you believe what you're doing is right, you act out of conviction.
Right.
And Satan, right there in that verse, he flat out denies having either of those. He says, look, all it did was invite you, or, stir up the urges already inside you, in your own souls.
And you responded.
You responded. Humans accepted that stirring, he says.
So if he didn't force us, and he didn't even really convince us with some grand argument, I mean, that changes things for our own accountability, doesn't it?
Oh, fundamentally. It puts the ball squarely back in our court, you could say. And this leads straight into a really crucial distinction the Imam makes. It's the difference between Satan, the external tempter, and the Nafs.
The Nafs.
Yeah, the soul that inclines towards evil. That's internal, purely internal. Think of the Nafs as that nagging voice inside that insists on one specific sin.
Ah, okay.
If you try to resist that sin, the Nafs just keeps pushing for that exact same thing. It wants to gain power through that specific act of disobedience. It craves a particular transgression.
So the Nafs is like that really personal weakness, that one bad habit that just keeps calling you back.
Exactly that. That's the Nafs. Now contrast that with Satan. Satan, according to the Imam, doesn't fixate on one specific sin. If you resist him on one front, say, you resist the urge to lie. Yeah. He doesn't just keep hammering away at lying. He'll pivot. He'll try something else. Maybe gossip, maybe envy, maybe arrogance.
So he just wants you to disobey. Doesn't matter how.
Precisely. His goal is general disobedience. Any sin will do. He's described as like finding the best angle for each person. Because, we're not all tempted by the same things. Money gets one person, a careless word gets another. He just looks for your weak spot.
That's a really powerful way to think about it, that internal battle versus the external whisper. And then Satan goes even further. He says, I cannot aid you, nor can you aid me. What's the depth of that complete inability to help?
Yeah, the Arabic word used there, muzrikikum, it's incredibly potent. It's not just saying, I won't help. It carries this meaning of being utterly unable to remove the source of their suffering, unable to soothe their agony, to stop the scream, the root of their distress.
Wow.
It signals total, complete abandonment right when they need help the most. It's like, I literally cannot save you from this pain you've caused yourselves. Just complete dissociation. And then there's another twist. Satan declares, indeed, I disbelieved in what you associated with me before. What's he disavowing there? Why is that so significant?
So this goes to the core concept of shirk, associating partners with God. The Imam explains it like this. When people chose to follow Satan's whispers over God's clear guidance, they effectively made Satan a partner in their obedience.
He elevated him.
In a way, yes. They gave his word priority over God's. They treated him like a partner to God in terms of who they listened to and obeyed. And here, Satan just throws it back at them. He completely rejects that partnership, washes his hands of it entirely.
And that connects so strongly with that Hadith Qudsi, the sacred saying where God asks.
Yes, the one about being watched.
Right. If you believe I don't see you, then there is a flaw in your faith. And if you believe I do see you, then why did you make me the least significant of those who watch you? It just perfectly highlights that terrible mistake of misplaced priorities, misplaced obedience. Absolutely. It underscores the gravity of our choices. There's no escaping the weight of our own actions, ultimately.
Okay, so that's the pretty stark picture painted for those who followed temptation.
Yeah.
But then the Quran shifts,
Okay.
right? It presents this beautiful contrasting vision. It talks about those who believed and did righteous deeds, tells us they're admitted to gardens beneath which rivers flow, abiding eternally therein by permission of their Lord. And their greeting, peace.
It's a powerful shift. And even the word for gardens, jannat, is interesting. The root jannah means to conceal or cover. It evokes this image of dense, lush greenery, trees providing cover and shade.
Like a hidden sanctuary.
Exactly. And paradise isn't just one big garden. The verse implies it contains masakin, individual dwellings, homes within these larger public garden spaces.
So it's like having your own private house, your own space, but it opens out onto these incredible, huge parks and beautiful landscapes. It sounds like something people deeply desire.
It really does. The Imam makes that exact point. He says, humans seem to have this dual desire. We want specialization, our own private home from its own door, as he puts it, our personal space. But we also crave generality, vast open spaces, beautiful views, wide pathways, maybe ocean vistas. We want both the cozy and the expansive.
And paradise offers both.
Paradise, in its divine design, fulfills both intimate privacy and breathtaking shared beauty.
And the promise of abiding eternally.
Yeah.
It's such a stark contrast to pleasure in this world, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which always feels temporary.
Oh, completely. Worldly enjoyment, as the Imam points out, always has that shadow hanging over it. Either the pleasure itself will end, or, we might lose the ability to enjoy it through sickness, age, whatever.
Fear of loss.
Exactly. But in the afterlife, that fear is gone. The enjoyment is described as uninterrupted and unfailing. And just as importantly, our capacity to enjoy it is also eternal. There's a beautiful line the Imam uses. Your enjoyment in this world is according to your capabilities, and your enjoyment in the afterlife is according to your Lord's capabilities.
Wow. According to the Lord's capabilities, that's limitless potential for joy.
Limitless. It's hard to even grasp.
And then there's the phrase, by permission of their Lord. What's the weight of that? That entry and dwelling are by permission.
It emphasizes that this isn't something earned in a transactional sense, but a gift bestowed by divine will, by God's grace and permission. It also includes the actions of the angels. They are the ones tasked with welcoming the believers, facilitating their entry, acting as agents of God's permission. It's a divinely orchestrated welcome.
A divine welcome and the greeting they receive. Peace.
Peace, salam.
That single word holds so much. How is this peace described? Is it just one thing?
Well, the word for greeting, tahiyya, implies an expression of joy when meeting someone. But the peace itself in paradise seems to operate on multiple levels, escalating levels, really. First, there's peace within yourself. No more regret, no inner conflict, just complete tranquility.
Okay.
Then, peace with everything around you, with nature, with creation, harmony. Then, peace from the angels who greet you with peace as you arrive. And finally, the ultimate level. The Quran mentions Salamun qala min Rabbin Rahim, peace, a word from a merciful Lord. Direct divine peace bestowed by God himself.
From inner peace to peace with creation, peace from angels, and finally peace directly from God.
Yeah.
That's quite a journey.
It's the ultimate state of being.
Now, to help us understand these kinds of deep, abstract concepts, the Quran often uses parables or mathal. Why are these stories, these comparisons, so effective?
It's a brilliant teaching method, really. God uses parables, as the Imam explains, to take abstract ideas, faith, goodness, disbelief, and connect them to something tangible, something sensory, things we can see, touch, experience in the world. It makes the meaning much clearer, much easier for us to grasp.
Right. Makes it relatable.
Exactly. And Imam brings up that verse where God says, he isn't ashamed to use an example even as small as a mosquito or something even smaller.
Yeah.
The point isn't the size or perceived importance of the example. I mean, today we could say even a virus, right? The value is in the clarity it brings to the message, the truth it illustrates.
So the message is key, not the grandeur of the illustration itself. Okay, so in this section of Surah Ibrahim, there's this powerful parable comparing a good word, kalima tayyiba, to a good tree, shajara tayyiba. What makes this tree so special? What does it represent?
Well, it's described as good in every way. Its look, its nature, what it produces, the shade it gives, total goodness. And crucially, its root is firmly fixed.
Firmly fixed, stable.
Yes, stable. But the Imam adds a fascinating layer here. He points out that while the roots are in the earth, A tree only gets, what, maybe 5% of its nutrients from the soil?
Only 5%.
Around that, yeah. The vast majority, like 95%, comes from the air, from above.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So that firmly fixed root signifies stability, yes, but the main sustenance comes from a purer source, high above the, the impurities and changes of the earth, pollution, waste, decay. It represents a truth, a belief that's stable but draws its life from something higher, something untainted by worldly corruption. It's not swayed by earthly shifts.
That's a beautiful image. Stable roots, but nourishment from above, and then its branches reach into the sky.
Right, which again emphasizes drawing purity from above, reaching for higher ideals, aspiring upwards, being elevated above those corrupting influences down below. It's about spiritual loftiness, connection to the divine.
Okay. And the tree produces its fruit all the time by permission of its Lord. What does that continuous fruit-bearing signify?
It means constant, unending benefit, continuous yield. And it's not just, say, one type of fruit at one specific season. The Imam suggests it's broader than that. Think about the tangible fruit, yes, but also the intangible benefits, shade, beauty, and significantly, the oxygen trees produce. He even distinguishes between daytime, when trees produce oxygen that fuels movement and life, active living, and nighttime, where they still support life, but more in terms of basic survival. The tree adapts its giving, offering diverse benefits all the time, meeting various needs continuously.
So it's this constantly giving, life-sustaining force, always benefiting its surroundings. It's a powerful metaphor for a good word, or maybe a life lived in goodness.
Absolutely. It endures, it nourishes, it provides shelter, it elevates.
And the contrast, of course, is the bad word, likened to a bad tree.
Which is silly.
Uprooted from the surface of the earth, having no stability. It's the complete opposite. No roots, no height, no lasting fruit, no benefit. It's destined to wither away because it's not grounded in truth or drawing from anything pure. A very clear, very stark contrast. Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, wow, we've really covered some ground. We've looked at that critical difference between Satan's external prompting and our own soul's internal pull, which really reframes personal accountability.
Clarifies where the real battle often lies.
We've glimpsed the incredible promise of paradise, that eternal peace, that fulfillment of deep human desires for both privacy and expansiveness.
A vision of ultimate tranquility and joy.
And we finished with that beautiful parable of the good word as a good tree, deeply rooted, reaching high and continuously giving life and benefit.
Yeah, the enduring power of truth and goodness. It's a lot to take in, but incredibly relevant, I think, to how we navigate our lives.
Definitely. And as you listening, reflect on all this, maybe here's a final thought to ponder. How might really internalizing that a difference between an external whisper and your own internal desire, how might that change the way you approach accountability in your day-to-day life? And thinking about that tree, what kind of fruit are your words, your actions producing all the time? Something to think about until our next deep dive.
Thank you for watching. Explore our bookstore on Amazon.